Block 7. The Waiting Game. If you've ever waited for exam results, you know the feeling. The restless nights, the endless replay of every answer you gave, the doubt creeping into your thoughts like a shadow. That was me after the interview. Every day I walked to school with a knot in my stomach. At first, I tried to distract myself. I buried my head in homework, played basketball with friends, and even spent hours reorganizing my desk. But whenever I sat still for more than 5 minutes, my mind drifted back to that office, to the serious faces of the teachers, to the way my voice trembled when I introduced myself in English. One afternoon, as I was packing my bag after class, my friend Takumi nudged me. "Oi, Hiroshi, you've been spacing out a lot. What's going on?" I hesitated, then admitted quietly, "I applied for the exchange program. I had the interview last week." His eyes widened. "Eh? Seriously? That's huge. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "I didn't want to jinx it," I muttered. He grinned. "Well, I think you'll get it. You're always serious about English. Besides, if anyone deserves it, it's you." His words gave me a small spark of hope, but hope was dangerous. It made the waiting even harder. At home, my mother tried to comfort me. "Hiroshi, you've already done your best. Whatever happens, we're proud of you." My father, true to his nature, said little, but I noticed he asked more questions about English phrases and occasionally left English magazines on the table. It was his quiet way of showing support. The letter was supposed to arrive by mail. For a whole week, I rushed home every day, heart pounding as I opened the mailbox. Empty. 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 On the 8th day, as I turned the key, I saw it, a white envelope with the school's logo. My hands shook as I pulled it out. I wanted to rip it open immediately, but fear froze me. What if it was a rejection? I carried it inside, placed it on the table, and stared at it while my parents gathered around. My little sister bounced excitedly. "Open it. Open it." Finally, I tore the envelope. My eyes scanned the words quickly until one phrase jumped out. "Congratulations, you have been nominated by your school to proceed with the exchange application." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then relief washed over me, so strong that tears stung my eyes. My mother hugged me, my father gave a rare smile, and Yui squealed as if I had just won a championship. That night, lying in bed, I whispered to myself, "This is real. This is happening." Block 8. The Motivation Essay. Being nominated was only the first step. The next requirement was an essay, written in both Japanese and English, explaining why I wanted to study abroad and what I hoped to gain from it. At first I thought, easy. I know my reasons, but when I sat down with a blank sheet of paper, the words refused to come. How could I condense this enormous dream into neat paragraphs? For days, I scribbled sentences and crossed them out. I want to improve my English. Too obvious. I want to experience another culture. Too vague. I want to grow as a person. Too cliché. Frustrated, I went for a walk around my neighborhood. The familiar streets felt small that evening. As I passed the convenience store where I had bought ice cream since childhood, the train station I used daily, the school building where I had spent countless hours, I realized this is exactly why I want to go. I know these streets too well. I want to walk streets where everything feels new. That became the heart of my essay. In Japanese, I wrote, "Growing up in Japan, I was always surrounded by the same scenery and the same values. I cherish that, but at the same time, I want to broaden my horizons. I believe that by living and studying in America, my conventional wisdom will be challenged, and I will discover a new side of myself. In English, I tried my best. I have grown up in Japan, surrounded by familiar views and familiar ways of thinking. I treasure them, but at the same time, I want to broaden my horizon. By living and studying in the United States, I believe my common sense will be challenged, and I will meet a new version of myself. I showed the draft to my English teacher. She corrected some grammar, but smiled warmly. "Hiroshi, this is beautiful. It shows your sincerity. Don't worry too much about perfection. They want to see your heart." Encouraged, I polished the essay and submitted it. When I pressed send on the application portal, my hands trembled again. It felt like I had just carved my dream into words and sent it into the world, hoping someone out there would believe in me. Block 9. Nervous waiting. Again. Once the essay was submitted, another waiting period began. The exchange organization would review applications, essays, and teacher recommendations before making final decisions. This time, the waiting felt heavier. Unlike the school nomination, this decision would come from strangers, people who didn't know me personally. They would judge me only by my words and scores. Every day, I checked my email obsessively. Sometimes I woke up at 3 a.m. and opened my phone under the blanket, just in case an update had arrived while I slept. Nothing. At school, Takumi teased me. "You're like a guy waiting for a love confession reply." I laughed, but inside he wasn't wrong. This was like waiting for fate itself to text back. One afternoon, I overheard classmates discussing their future plans: university entrance exams, cram schools, part-time jobs. I felt both connected and distant. While they worried about exams, I was worrying about a life across the ocean. Part of me wondered, am I being selfish? Should I just stay on the same path as everyone else? But then I remembered Emily, the American exchange student I had met at the festival. Her laughter, her courage to speak Japanese imperfectly. It returned to me like a guiding light. No, I told myself, I can't back down now. Even if it's scary, this is my path. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the email came. My heart pounded as I opened it. "Dear Hiroshi Tanaka, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted into the United States High School Exchange Program for the upcoming academic year." I read it 3 times to be sure. Then I shouted so loudly that my mother rushed into the room, thinking something was wrong. When I told her, she hugged me tightly. My father, when he heard, gave me a proud nod. Yui jumped around, chanting, "America! America!" It was official. I was going. Block 10, First Orientation Meeting. The excitement of acceptance was quickly followed by reality. Orientation. The exchange organization invited all accepted students and their families to Tokyo for a 2-day orientation session. Arriving at the hotel where it was held, I felt both nervous and curious. Around me were dozens of other teenagers, each clutching papers and suitcases, their parents trailing behind. Some looked excited, others terrified. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. The orientation leaders, former exchange students, spoke about culture shock, homesickness, language barriers, and school life in America. They didn't sugarcoat anything. "You will cry," one of them said bluntly. "You will feel lonely. You will get frustrated when people don't understand you. but you will also laugh harder than ever, learn more than you imagine, and return with a heart bigger than before. We practiced role plays, introducing ourselves in English, asking for directions, dealing with misunderstandings. I stumbled a few times, but so did everyone else. We laughed together, bonding over our shared nervousness. At night, in the hotel room, I met my roommate, Kenta, another Osaka boy heading to Michigan. We stayed up late talking about our fears. "What if my host family hates me?" he whispered. "I think they choose families who want us," I reassured him, though I was secretly wondering the same thing. By the end of the orientation, I felt both more prepared and more anxious. I had seen the road ahead more clearly, and it wasn't smooth, but that only made me want to face it even more. Block 11. Telling my friends in Japan. Back at school, the news spread quickly. I was going to America. At first, I was shy about telling people. I didn't want to sound like I was bragging, but soon, classmates approached me directly. "Is it true, Hiroshi? You're leaving next year?" I nodded, and the reactions were mixed. Some congratulated me with excitement. "Wow, that's amazing." Others looked doubtful. "Aren't you scared? What about entrance exams?" Takumi, my closest friend, grinned. "Man, I'm jealous, but also proud of you. Just promise me you'll come back with crazy stories." During lunch break, a group of friends teased me. "Don't forget us when you're surrounded by American girls." I blushed so hard that even the cafeteria rice couldn't save me. But beneath the jokes and congratulations, there was a bittersweet feeling. As I laughed with them, I realized these were the moments I would miss. The familiar voices, the shared jokes, the safety of belonging. Leaving meant giving all of this up, even if temporarily. That evening, I wrote in my journal, "Dreams always come with sacrifices. I am ready." Block 12, passport and visa documents. I never thought filling out paperwork could feel like climbing a mountain. Yet here I am, sitting at the dining table with my father, surrounded by forms, photocopies, official seals, and a checklist so long it looks endless. The exchange program sent me precise instructions. Get a valid passport, fill out the DS-160 form for the U.S. student visa, pay fees, book an embassy appointment, and collect proof of enrollment. Each document feels like a key to a locked door that slowly opens toward America. My passport is the first challenge. Although Japan makes it relatively simple, I still need my family register, photographs with precise background color, and official stamps from the city office. I remember standing in line at the ward office, clutching my documents like treasures, afraid I had forgotten something. When the officer handed me back my receipt and said, "It will be ready in 1 week," I felt a small wave of victory. A week later, holding that navy blue booklet with the golden chrysanthemum crest, I knew I was one step closer. But the visa process is a world of its own. The DS-160 form asks for every detail of my life: where I live, where I study, my parents' jobs, my travel history, and even whether I intend to join suspicious organizations. I laugh nervously while filling it in, thinking, how can they know so much about me before I even set foot in their country? Father helps me with the online payment of the visa fee, and I schedule an interview at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo. That night, I place the passport, my admission letter from the American school, bank statements proving financial support, and photographs inside a neat folder. Mother hovers nearby, reminding me again and again. Don't forget to be polite. Bow properly. Answer clearly. I nod, already feeling the pressure of representing not only myself, but also my family, my school, maybe even my whole country. As I fall asleep, the folder rests on my desk like a sacred talisman. Tomorrow, it will travel with me to Tokyo for the embassy interview. Tomorrow, another door opens. Block 13, embassy interview for student visa. Tokyo is loud, fast, and crowded. Yet inside the U.S. Embassy, time feels frozen. Security checks, metal detectors, and guards with serious faces make me realize this is no ordinary building. My heart pounds as I clutch my folder of documents like a lifeline. Father walks with me to the entrance but is not allowed inside. I must face this alone. The waiting room feels like a train station of dreams. Students like me, businessmen, tourists, all holding papers, rehearsing answers, praying silently. When my number is called, I approach the glass window where a tall officer with blonde hair greets me in brisk Japanese accented English. Good morning. Why are you going to the United States? I swallow hard. I have been accepted as an exchange student. I will study in California for 1 year. The officer flips through my documents, glances at my bank statement, then asks about my school in Osaka. His voice is neutral, but every question feels like a test of my sincerity. When he switches to English, "How long have you studied English?" My tongue stumbles, but I answer, "Since junior high school. I want to improve more during my stay." For a long moment, silence. Then he stamps a paper and smiles slightly. Your visa is approved. You will receive your passport with the visa in 1 week. My knees almost give out. I bow deeply, whispering, Arigato gozaimasu. Walking out into the bright Tokyo sunlight, I feel lighter than ever. The world seems wider, the future closer. Father pats my back and says, Well done, Hiroshi. America is waiting for you. Block 14, farewell preparations. Back in Osaka, the countdown begins. My visa arrives with a shiny sticker inside my passport, bearing the letters F1. It glimmers like a golden ticket to a new life. Friends from school bombard me with questions. What will American high school be like? Will you eat hamburgers every day? I laugh, but inside I know they're asking the same things. I wonder. Mother begins her own preparations, packing lists, shopping for gifts for my host family, boxes of Japanese tea, origami sets, small charms from our shrine. She insists that I bring something that represents Japan. So I practice folding paper cranes late at night, imagining my American friends holding them curiously. At school, teachers remind me to stay humble and represent Japan well. You are our bridge, Hiroshi, says my English teacher. Show them the best of who you are. I write farewell letters to my classmates, promising to send pictures and updates. My phone buzzes constantly with line messages. Don't forget us. Bring back stories. Ganbatte. Every evening, I stare at the calendar. The departure date feels both far and too close. I start sorting clothes into suitcases, folding neatly, trying to imagine which ones I'll actually need. My baseball cap from middle school, my favorite manga volumes, too heavy but too hard to leave behind. The house feels different now, like a place I must say goodbye to, not just live in. Even the tatami smell in my room seems sharper, reminding me of what I'll miss. Block 15. Last family dinner in Osaka. It is the night before departure. My parents prepare a farewell dinner with all my favorite dishes: sukiyaki, sashimi, miso soup, and even homemade tempura. The table is full, but so are our hearts, full of unspoken words, heavy with love. My grandmother joins us, her hands trembling as she holds her chopsticks. You will see the world, Hiroshi, but never forget the taste of home. We eat slowly, savoring each bite. The mood swings between laughter and silence. Father tells stories of his own youth, when he dreamed of going abroad but never had the chance. You are living my dream too, he says quietly, raising his cup of sake. After dinner, we gather in the living room. Mother brings out an album with baby pictures, turning pages slowly as if rewinding time. I blush at the chubby face staring back at me, but inside I feel grateful. Grateful for every year that brought me here, to this moment on the edge of something new. Before bed, my family gathers at the kamidana, the household shrine. We bow, clap, and pray together. My grandmother whispers blessings for safety and strength. When I finally lie down, the house is quiet, yet my heart races. Tomorrow, Kansai International Airport. Tomorrow, the farewell. Tomorrow, America. Block 16, Departure Day, Kansai International Airport. The morning sun hadn't even fully risen when I woke up. My alarm buzzed like a countdown clock. Today is the day. My suitcase, packed meticulously, sat by the door, bulging slightly with clothes, textbooks, and carefully folded gifts for my host family. I double-checked my passport and visa for the 10th time, just to be sure. Mother had already prepared breakfast, and Father quietly watched, drinking green tea. Even Yui seemed unusually calm, holding back tears as she handed me a small hand-drawn card. "Hiroshi, don't forget us," she whispered. I hugged her tightly, swallowing the lump in my throat. The taxi ride to Kansai Airport felt surreal. The familiar streets of Osaka blurred past the window. I noticed details I had ignored for years. The scent of the bakery on the corner, the sound of children laughing near the park, even the small old bookstore where I had bought my first English dictionary. Soon, all of it would be behind me, replaced by an entirely new world. At the check-in counter, airline staff scanned my documents efficiently. My heart thumped as the conveyor belt carried my suitcase away. With one final glance, I whispered, "Goodbye, Osaka." Block 17, Farewell Emotions and Boarding. Walking through the airport, the realization hit me fully. I was really leaving home. Families bustled around me, some crying, some laughing, some dragging children by the hand. I could feel the tension, the mixture of excitement and fear, knotting in my chest. My parents hugged me tightly at the boarding gate. Father's usually stoic face was wet with tears, and my mother whispered, "Be brave, Hiroshi. Learn, grow, and come back safe." Yui clung to me one last time, her small arms barely reaching around my waist. I promised her, "I will write every week. I'll tell you everything." As I walked down the jetway and onto the plane, I felt a strange combination of exhilaration and homesickness. The airplane seats were narrow, but I didn't care. Each takeoff vibration felt like my life shifting into a new dimension. I gazed out the window at the shrinking islands of Japan below, feeling both nostalgia and anticipation. Block 18, Burst Flight and Midnight Thoughts. Flying over the Pacific was an experience I could never have imagined. Clouds stretched endlessly, glowing with the soft pink of sunset. I leaned my head against the window, listening to the hum of the engines, and thought about the year ahead. 1 year, new friends, new culture, new school. Everything will be different. Mid-flight, I tried to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. I rehearsed my English conversations. Hello, my name is Hiroshi Tanaka. I'm from Japan. I like reading and basketball. I thought about my host family, who they were, what their home looked like, whether they would like my gifts. I pulled out a notebook and began writing a letter to my future self. Hiroshi, this is the start. Remember to be kind, curious, and brave. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every challenge will teach you something. You are not just traveling, you are becoming. Even with the hum of the plane and the occasional murmur of passengers, I felt strangely awake, alert, as if every fiber of me was anticipating the unknown. Block 19, arrival in Los Angeles. The plane landed in Los Angeles as the sun peeked over the horizon. Palm trees swayed gently along the freeways, and the air smelled different, salt, warm asphalt, and something electric, like the city was alive and breathing. The immigration process was intimidating. I stood in line with travelers from all over the world, my passport clutched in my hand like a shield. When my turn came, the officer asked in crisp English, "Purpose of your visit?" "I am an exchange student," I replied. "I will study for 1 year." "Where will you be staying?" "With my host family in Santa Monica." The officer's eyes scanned my documents, then he asked, "Have you ever been to the United States before?" "No, sir," I said. After a tense moment, he stamped my passport and handed it back. "Welcome to the United States." The words felt unreal. I walked out of the airport into the bright Californian morning, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The city buzzed with energy, people talking, cars honking, signs flashing. I clutched my suitcase and inhaled deeply, thinking, my life has changed. Block 20. First encounter with the host family. A minivan pulled up outside the airport, and a friendly woman holding a sign with my name approached. "Hiroshi?" she asked warmly. "Yes," I said, feeling both nervous and excited. "I'm Linda. Welcome. Your host family is waiting." We drove through sunlit streets, past colorful houses and palm trees until we arrived at a modest 2-story home with a small garden. Inside, a teenage boy about my age greeted me, along with his younger sister and their parents. They smiled, shook my hand, and immediately started showing me around the house. I handed them the gifts from Japan, and their reactions, genuine curiosity and delight, made me smile. My host mom even hung up the origami cranes I had folded, saying, "These are beautiful. They'll remind us of you every day." That night, I lay in my new bedroom, jet-lagged but unable to sleep. The walls were unfamiliar, the bed different, the sounds of the city outside strange. Yet as I closed my eyes, I whispered, "I'm here. I made it." Tomorrow begins everything. Block 21, first morning in American high school. The alarm buzzed too early for my body to fully accept, but excitement and nerves propelled me out of bed. I dressed carefully, trying to emulate the casual style I had seen in movies: jeans, a hoodie, and clean sneakers. My host mom reminded me, "Remember, it's just like any first day. You'll be nervous, but try to smile." The walk to school felt longer than expected. I passed sun-drenched streets, other students riding bikes, and the occasional skateboarder weaving past. Each face I passed reminded me, I'm in a completely new world. Entering the school, the first thing that hit me was the noise. Lockers slamming, students chatting, announcements over the PA system. It was overwhelming. I clutched my schedule tightly, trying to make sense of the complex map of hallways. At the first classroom, I was greeted with curious stares. A few students whispered, and I could hear, "Is he new?" I smiled awkwardly and murmured, "Hi," hoping my accent wouldn't make me sound silly. The teacher, Mrs. Caldwell, immediately addressed the class. "We have a new student joining us today. Hiroshi, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?" My hands trembled. I'm Hiroshi, from Japan. I like basketball and reading and learning English." A few students nodded politely, some smiled. Relief washed over me. I had survived the first moment, but as soon as I sat down, I realized the real challenge had only begun. Listening to rapid American English in discussions, trying to understand jokes, idioms, and instructions, it was like my brain was doing gymnastics I had never trained for. Block 22, Language Struggles and Self-Doubt. By lunchtime, my stomach twisted. I could follow some conversations but felt lost in the slang and casual speech. When a student asked me, "Do you want to sit with us?" I nodded enthusiastically, only to find they were talking about a joke I didn't understand. I laughed anyway, hoping no one would notice. I took out my notebook and scribbled new words. Hang out, chill, dude, homework load, cafeteria. Every moment was a learning opportunity. Yet doubt crept in. Will I ever be fluent? Will I ever understand everything? During math class, the teacher explained a problem so fast that I barely caught the numbers. I raised my hand, trying to ask a question, but the words came out haltingly. "Excuse? Can explain again?" The teacher smiled patiently, repeating the problem slowly. I scribbled notes furiously, grateful for kindness but frustrated at my own limitations. Walking home, I reflected. The language barrier was real. It wasn't just speaking, it was understanding culture, humor, and context. But I reminded myself of my journal note from the flight. Be curious. Make mistakes. Every challenge teaches you something. Block 23. Burst friendships. On the second day, something shifted. A boy named Jason, sitting next to me in history, leaned over. "Hey Hiroshi, wanna grab lunch together?" I hesitated. Talking to someone I barely knew in English felt daunting. But I nodded. Over the next 30 minutes, we discovered shared interests: basketball, video games, and even manga. Jason laughed when I mispronounced anime in a funny way, and I realized I could laugh at myself too. Later, a girl named Emily approached me. "I saw your origami cranes you brought from Japan. They're really pretty." I smiled and explained a bit about the meaning of the cranes, struggling with vocabulary but feeling proud that I could communicate something meaningful. That evening, back at my host family's house, I told them about my day. "I made a friend," I said, showing Jason's name in my notebook. Host mom nodded, pleased. "See? You are finding your place already." The next few days, small victories accumulated. Understanding instructions in gym class, answering a question in science without hesitation, laughing with classmates during lunch. Each success built confidence, even when mistakes continued to happen. Block 24. Cultural adjustments. Everything here felt bigger, literally. Cafeteria portions, classrooms, hallways, even the sports fields. But it wasn't just size. It was the way people behaved. Group work was louder and messier than in Japan. Teachers encouraged debate and opinions, not just memorization. Students called each other by first names, even teachers. I had to remember, this is normal here. During a school assembly, I noticed the differences most sharply. Students cheered loudly, teachers laughed, and the principal spoke about leadership and community. I remembered assemblies in Japan, orderly, silent, respectful, but restrained. Here, energy and emotion were celebrated. One afternoon, trying to join a basketball practice, I realized my Japanese habits clashed with local style. My passes were too precise, my stance too cautious. Jason shouted, laughing, "Dude, loosen up. Just play." At first I felt embarrassed, but then I relaxed. Mistakes became part of learning, part of connecting. Cultural adjustment was not just language, it was mindset. I noticed small things too. Tipping at the diner with my host family, saying please and thank you excessively, adjusting to sleep schedules and food I wasn't used to. Every day brought a lesson in humility and observation. Block 25, first weekend in exploration. The first weekend arrived, giving me a break from the intense school schedule. My host family planned a trip to the Santa Monica Pier. Walking along the boardwalk, I watched surfers, street performers, and tourists from all over the world. It was both overwhelming and mesmerizing. I bought my first American snack, a bag of saltwater taffy, and struggled to pronounce the flavors to the cashier. My embarrassment turned into laughter when Jason shouted from the pier, "Dude, you said slut water taffy." We laughed until our stomachs hurt. The weekend also offered quiet reflection. Sitting on the beach at sunset, I wrote in my notebook, 1 week down. I feel exhausted, homesick, amazed, and small. But I am learning every moment. Every mistake, every smile, every confused glance, it is all part of this adventure. That night, lying in my bed, I realized something important. Adaptation is slow, uncomfortable, and sometimes awkward. But the reward is discovery. A new country, new friends, and a new version of myself awaited. And I was ready to meet them.